Manager of Native Initiatives, now called the Circle of Indigenous Empowerment at the Sonoran Center for Excellence in Disabilities here at the University of Arizona. So before we get started on today's webinars, we just have a few housekeeping items to go over. Remember to please mute your microphones. That would be really important to do. Today's session is being recorded, and all recordings and materials will be available in an email later on in the future. If you'd like to ask a question, please type your question into the chat box or use the raise hand button if you'd like to speak. If you encounter any technical issues, please send a message in the chat to the Sonoran Center. We'll be monitoring the chat. Live captioning is also available. To access live captions, please click on the live caption button at the top of your screen. We also want to again to remind people to remain muted unless you have a question, and raise your hand or put it in the chat. So we also would like to read the university's land acknowledgement as we start today's session. So we respectfully acknowledge the University of Arizona is on the land and territories of Indigenous peoples. Today, Arizona is home to 22 federally recognized tribes, with Tucson being home to the O'odham and the Yaqui, also called Ueme. Committed to diversity and inclusion, the university strives to build sustainable relationships with sovereign Native nations and Indigenous communities through education, partnerships, and community service. So I'm very happy to have our guest today, Mr. Jimmy Squire, citizen of the Amputee Shawnee of Oklahoma, who will also talk about in today's presentation, Not Away, advocating for Native athletes who are disabled. So Mr. Squire is an athlete with an above knee amputation, and he is a member of the Southwest Amputee Golf Association, Veterans Golf Association, and currently participates with the Texas Adaptive Golf Association. So I will leave it up to Jimmy now to introduce themselves and also to talk about his presentation, which will cover the impact limb amputation has on Native Americans, the role athletics has in Native American communities, and examine how to make the world of tournament athletics more welcoming to Native athletes who are disabled. So Jimmy.
Hello. I'm so happy to do this on behalf of the University of Phoenix, the program, myself with the Amputee Shawnee Tribe of Oklahoma. And a little bit about me is that my Native American name is Changing Feathers on a Baby Eagle. And to kind of start off, that's I do participate in our powwows and our Native American church in our community, as well as I am an employee of the Amputee Shawnee Tribe. I am the recycling technician for Oklahoma Environmental Health. And with that out of the way, I lost my leg at age 3 from a lawnmower accident that left me a Symes ankle level. I did rehabilitation for I would say 5 or 6 months before I actually got a prosthesis back when I was 3 years old. I had to adapt to whatever we was doing in the world, and my community, my Native family, my churches, they all had a role in this to make me where I am today. So being a young age amputee at 3, I just wanted to be normal. So I got into sports. When I was in 5th grade, I participated in soccer. Between that time, though, being brought up on the res here in Oklahoma, I say reservation Oklahoma, but it's really just the housing community They were all brothers and sisters, or grandmas and grandpas. They had a big open arms companionship with me to push me to where I needed to be in life as a disabled Native American. And so in fifth grade, I wanted to play sports, and I have grown a little bit. So from 3 years old to 15, I was at an ankle level amputee. And during that time, the McLeod Redskins, McLeod, Oklahoma, that was their mascot, was the Redskins. I played soccer for the town of McLeod, and I was goalie, guard, and forward. And it wasn't easy the first year. A lot of I broke my foot plenty of times kicking that soccer ball, one end of the goal to almost the next. You really had to be, I guess, motivated to run, to chase that little ball. And that sport alone got you out of shape or got you in shape, one or the other. So I that was my fifth grade year back in 1990. And 1991, I went ahead and played soccer again. Now I'm in sixth grade. Now I actually got an opportunity to go to state, and we won second in state. It wasn't because of me, but it was because of the team. There was a team effort in there. There was never an I as far as being associated with McLeod soccer team. My sixth grade year, I did participate for the McLeod Redskins basketball team. And then again, I had to go. I was one of the ones that had to go in front of the Chamber of Commerce and ask them permission for me to participate in school because I was a liability. I did have a disability. And one of the questions was, why did you want to why do you want to play in sports, Mrs. Squire? And I just simply said on stand in front of the Chamber of Commerce of McLeod, Oklahoma, and said I wanted to be treated equal. I wanted an opportunity to be like him or him or him. And they allowed me to. They allowed me to participate. So in basketball in my sixth grade year, I accomplished that sport for McLeod Redskins school. Coach Lewis was my coach at the time, and he worked with me as well as my teammates. They all worked with me because of when you're an amputee, you have to work extra hard. We can't really run as fast as an able-bodied person. So they worked with me, and I'm so thankful that they gave me a chance to be normal. Yes, they knew I had a disability, but they wanted me to be normal. So it in my hometown at that time, there was just a loving family. After the Chamber of Commerce and the school board found out of what I was able to do with my disability, they said, well, from here on out, if there's any other sport you want to play, you just go right ahead. You don't have to get permission. So my seventh grade year, I tried out for a baseball team in McLeod, and Kevin Davidson was my coach. He had two sons, Jeremy, and I don't remember the other brother's name, but we was neighbors. We worked together. We practiced together. We went to tournaments together, and they really opened the door for me to be a baseball player. Now I was a catcher, I was a pitcher, first baseman, and shortstop. And during that time in my baseball, I would have to say that was one of the hardest games that or sports I had to deal with, because there was a 90-mile, I would say anywhere between 85 and 90 miles per hour of baseball coming at you. So, I mean, I was kind of chicken at the first. I didn't want to hit that ball because I wasn't really active as far as being in that baseball team. But later on, because of my coach, Kevin Davidson pushed me, and he worked with me. He took me to the fields. We practiced catching, we practiced hitting, we practiced ground level baseball, grounders and pop flies, and never had a home run, but I got close. So here again, I'm still an ankle level amputee. The term is a science amputee. So I tried out for football for the McLeod Redskins school. Now this is where the competition really got interesting. Coach Lee Hamilton, Coach Baxter, Coach Modisette, Coach Jaggers, these coaches worked with me every day of my football season. Was my seventh grade year. Um, I had beat out the guy for center, so I played center, right guard, left guard, and linebacker. And I would say 80% of the time I was on the field as an amputee, as a McLeod Redskins, as a tribal amputee athlete. And it was not easy getting hit like that as a seventh grade, eighth grade football player. You're playing the most important spot, which was center, right guard, left guard. You had your duties to do. Now, all these sports I've done before, the baseball, the basketball, the soccer, I was assigned a spot, and I had to do it to 110% level. So my football career, I only played 1 year, and all I wanted to do was try. All I wanted to do was say, you know what? I played that sport. I know how hard it is for an amputee. I know how hard it is to be in the center of able-bodied teams and being the only amputee. But afterwards, my McLeod Redskins school, my classmates, they did not look at me like I had a disability. They looked at me like I was normal, and if he wanted to do it, well, let's put him out there and do it. Let's work twice as hard. Now, being brought up on the res, they come up with all kinds of names. There was Jimmy Five Toes, Jimmy One Leg, Captain Hook, Captain Jimmy. So these guys started getting that sense of humor of what it was like to be around an amputee athlete. So it was just exciting for me to even participate in that. My eighth grade year, I tried out for wrestling as the only ankle level wrestler in the state of Oklahoma and also for McLeod Redskins in McLeod, Oklahoma. That was pretty difficult. I could not wear my prosthesis in me competing in this sport. I had to take my leg off, and that was the most difficult sport I've ever played and ever had to have a challenge at. I had to wrestle low level. I couldn't just bounce on one leg like a pogo stick and then get out there and think I'm going to win. So I did this. So my ninth grade year, so from 1981 to 1993, I was an ankle level amputee. And in 1993, at 15 and a half, I became a below knee amputee. I did have a lot of complications where the bone structure it stunned my growth. I was kind of bow-legged, like I rode a horse all my teenage years. It was really curved where they had no other solution but to go and revise 7 inches of femur or tibia and fibula. So now I'm a below knee amputee. So now I really had to think about, if I'm going to continue my sports career, what do I do now? Now I'm becoming aware of my disability, of having a disability that I need to be aware of, because now I'm to a different level of amputation. I'm to a point where I lost all that leverage, and now when I luckily I had I call him my foster dad, which was my prosthetist. He made the artificial limbs for me. His name is Doyle Black. He took me to raise. He took me to be a father figure. He took me to be that coach, my mentor, and it was a blessing in life to be a part of something I didn't know about. Now, he made prosthetic legs for 45 years before he retired, but he was just an excellent person to be right there next to me. So in 1994, 93, 94 wrestling season, I said, you know what? I can't let this stop me. I've got to go and do a sport that I think to my ability was the hardest sport ever, and that was wrestling. So I came out from an ankle level to a below knee level amputee, and I wrestled as a below knee amputee. That made Channel 5 news for the McLeod Redskins. I made this school newspaper. Uh, I did, like I said before, 110% is what I gave because of the coaches. Then the coaches was Lee Hamilton, Elaine Baxter, Coach Modisette. These guys worked with me every day because they seen potential. They seen something that I guess they didn't really see in anybody else, because I was the only amputee besides my friend, my brother, Eric Priest. He was an above knee amputee, but his was from a birth defect and he was in the wheelchair. So, as far as being the only amputee athlete for McLeod schools, these coaches put in 120% for me to be 110. So I tried that for wrestling. Like I said, I made Channel 5 News here in the state of Oklahoma as the only tribal amputee wrestler. I was presented in a newspaper, and I said, well, what am I going to do now? Because my town has showed me so much love of me being different, but they treated me the same. They wanted me to be successful in life as an amputee athlete. So my 10th grade year, I got into weightlifting, and I believe it or not, I was only 112, 113 pounds, somewhere around in there. And I deadlifted, I did leg lifts, I did all I could. So in my 10th grade year, I I got back into wrestling and of McLeod schools, and here again, I'm a below knee amputee, only wrestler in the state of Oklahoma to be an amputee. And I started winning. I beat a four-time state champion on tape out of 8 of Oklahoma. His name was Jeremy Smith at the time, and I beat him in overtime. And if you ever seen monkeys wrestle, orangutans, or chimpanzees, well, I studied that on how them animals would maneuver in life so I can maneuver in that ring. And I was always taught that circle in that ring of wrestling, no matter, it's just like the world. No matter if you get knocked down, you get back up and you try 110% again. And it was just you and that opponent. It wasn't a team out there with 13, 14 players. So every time I thought about, well, he just knocked me down, he just took me out, well, I just get right back up. In the same way with the world, when even in our world, we get knocked down, but we still have to get back up to be a inspiration, a role model for our younger generation, and even for our community. So now, um, I was the manager for the 11th grade wrestling team, 1996. 1997, I graduated high school. In 1998, at age 20, I became an above knee amputee because of the sports I did, the soccer, the basketball, the baseball, the football, the wrestling at Symes and below knee amputee level. I blew my knee out where it looked like a tennis ball with 2 strings on the end, and there was no saving the kneecap. So I made the decision to go above the knee. And that was the hardest thing I ever had to do, because I thought personally in my mind and in my heart that I wasn't going to be successful in sports like I was, because I did have that leverage. I did have that leg. And so in 1998, I went above knee I became an above knee amputee. So I got involved with the Okie spokesman of Oklahoma, the veterans wheelchair basketball team, and I started playing wheelchair basketball as an above knee amputee. And I really loved it, but I didn't want to be in the wheelchair because I still had ability to ambulate. I still had the ability to walk and use a prosthetic device. So I did that for a while, and I didn't really. It wasn't to my ability to be sitting down, be in a wheelchair after all the sports as an amputee I did in school. So now I had to do. I had to have a different perspective of life. At 3 levels of amputee, age 3, 15, now 20. Um, I really loved wheelchair basketball. I really loved it, but I wanted to get back and do something what I can do with my prosthetic leg. So from 2000 to 2008, I got involved with the Endeavor Games for the physically disabled at UCO in Oklahoma City. And this gave me an opportunity to do wheelchair basketball, wheelchair softball, wheelchair track and field, swimming, amputee track and field, setting volleyball, 3 wheelchair cycling, fencing, archery, you name it, this sport had it. Now, I started at easy, just playing wheelchair basketball and swimming. And then I got to thinking, well, as an above knee amputee, my levels of amputation, my sports got harder, and that's what I set a goal where I wanted to do the long jump, I wanted to do the high jump, I wanted to do the 100-meter run, and the 100-meter run. As you can see in some of the pictures, I wore this bent back paperclip leg with no heel, and that was just amazing on how these runners, these athletes, as far as being above knee, I was classified as a T42, how they maneuver, on how fast they run. 18, 19, and 20 was first, second, and third, and I came out 21 seconds, and for the first time ever running. And so I said, well, I did the hardest sports I could. And well, I got invited to continue in 2008. And I said, how would you like to do the long jump and the high jump? And that's when the awareness of my disability kicked in, of me being and having a disability, of my awareness of me having to jump over a line to sand, or even having to jump over a pole at a distance, at a height. So I said, you know what? Let me try it. And now, I did not do any training of any of this. I just got out there and did. I said, you know what? Let me do it. Let me try. So in 2006, 2007, and 2008, I am the first placed winner, gold, in my only division as a T42 above knee amputee long jump holder. And in 2008, I tried the high jump, and I wound up winning gold in it. And so far that I know of, knock on wood, I don't think my record has been broken since 2008. The longest that I did from the second board was 3.25 meters, which equals out to be, I think, 10.6 inches, if I'm right. I could be wrong, but it was over 10 feet. And in a couple of the pictures, those 3 years I was gold, those pictures are in there. And then the third picture onto the top is where I was jumping over 1 meter, which is 3 feet, but it was actually like a 6.5 to 7 feet jump that I had to jump over this pole. And the photographer at that time was phenomenal. He took an awesome picture of that event and me winning first of that year. And that's where I said, I've done all I can as far as everything that you see here to my soccer, um, as far as being an athlete. And I kind of said, well, what do I do now? Well, the next thing is that before that was 2006. I got to present myself in the extremity games for BMX biking, rock climbing, and knee boarding. Um, and that was in Orlando, Florida. I didn't place in any of it, but the ability to do this, to be around your own kind, you just try to do what is best for you in that sport, not for anybody else. Now you don't have a coach in your ear screaming, and I became my own coach. And between the coach and the athlete, yeah, the leg did come off. I did throw it. It was the leg's fault. I didn't win. Here comes the mind games of being a coach versus the athlete. So it was a comical, and I try to be comical because we work extra hard every day just to put the leg on and be part of the society, our community, and of our world. But when you get in the sports world, now it becomes a real challenge because you have to have a mindset. So I said, well, okay, I work for Tinker Air Force Base out of Oklahoma City, and they sponsored me for this. As far as being in rock climbing, BMX biking, and knee boarding, it was just a fun time, something I never experienced, something I never did. And so I decided to say, what's next? What's next in the sports world? So after that, um, when I was revised to a below knee at 15, I did pick up golf, and I grew up on 2 acres, so I would mow a strip, and then I would hit golf balls back, and I would mow a strip, and then I would. It took me all day to mow 2 acres, and my foster dad, Doyle Black, he was kind of upset. What have you been doing all day? Well, I've been hitting golf balls and mowing one strip. But this is me as a revised below the knee amputee. And now I taught myself one-legged before I did two. So in 2001, I got to ride around with Tom Watson of the senior PGA championship. I was a marshal for the senior PGA championship, but having that time with the professional golfer as Tom Watson, his love and the passion for the game was just the same as the love and the compassion for the people. He let me ride around with him for one hole, and I watched him, and I took pictures with him. In the back of this name tag, he signed my autograph. Now, what makes it unique with this name tag here, I was the main marshal if there was a playoff in the senior PGA of hole 19. So I got the unique name tag out of all of the marshals that were there. And I actually got to have Tom Watson sign it, which was the beautiful thing that it made me tear up on the course. And he just told me, you just keep going. You just keep doing what you're doing, because if there's nobody like you that has um, the same disability at your time of what age, he said, you're unique. You're basically, he said, I was an antique. And so of being in a time of a moment for a picture, for a memory. And that's what he told me. And that's what stuck with me. And that's why I became a photographer of everything I do. I got to have pictures, and my phone, I don't think can have any more pictures on it. So the sports, so the golf, as I had to teach myself as a 15-year-old below the knee amputee, but at age 20 I became an above knee. Now in 2016, I became a member of the Southwest Amputee Golf Association. Oh, well, okay, wait, I'm getting ahead of myself. I'm sorry. Um, I had a chance to go and participate with the flag holder. Go back to the flag holder of the flag. Okay. Um, in 2008, I did something that I thought would be memorable. I thought would be very passionate to do as a tribal amputee athlete. Um, in 2008, the picture on to the right is I went all the way to Jim Thorpe, Pennsylvania, and I paid my respects to Jim Thorpe by a guy that I met at Straw Powwow, and he said, if he had one dream in your life, one wish in your life, what would it be? And I said, go pay my respects to Jim Thorpe in Jim Thorpe, Pennsylvania. And he said, you be ready in about 2 weeks. I'll take you. I'm going to Bedford, Pennsylvania. Everything's on me. And he made that wish for me. Paul Clark III is who made this wish for me. Now, during the two years that the Jim Thorpe games was here in Oklahoma, one at Citizen Potawatomi and the other one was at Remington Park. My daughter and I, Autumn Squire, was the flag holders for our tribe, the Absentee Shawnee tribe. Now, during the flag presentation, it went Sac and Fox and then Absentee Shawnee tribe. And so my daughter and I were the flag holders for those 2 years of being a part of the Jim Thorpe games. Now, I actually got to participate in golf in the Jim Thorpe games as the only tribal amputee golfer that has ever signed up for the Jim Thorpe games. Now, a little bit about the Jim Thorpe. In 2008, as I'm taking my trip to Jim Thorpe, Pennsylvania, when I came back to my hometown, Shawnee, Oklahoma, I was very, very best friends with Jack Thorpe, which was Jim Thorpe's son. And because of my sports accomplishments from when I was a young kid to that present of 2008, he adopted me into the Jim Thorpe family and said, if I can do my legacy and try to carry on what I've done as an tribal amputee athlete, please keep your grandpa, which is Jim Thorpe, try to keep his legacy going as well. And from there, I got to go through all of Jim Thorpe's pictures. I got to hold the 1912 Olympic medals that he won. And then going up there to Jim Thorpe, Pennsylvania, and knowing the history of how he made it up that way. And then we were still trying to bring him back home to be buried with his family, with his Sac and Fox people as well. But that was who other in this whole world gets to be a tribal athlete or tribal amputee athlete and follow this one guy that you've read in a book when you was in 5th grade. And then 2008, you go pay your respects to this Native American icon now, and then come back to be adopted into that family, that Thorpe family, because of my accomplishments. I did also get to meet Bill Mills at Straw Powwow in 1998 when I just first became an above knee amputee. So I had met these 2 Native American icons as far as being able-bodied athletes, Bill Mills, and then me going and paying my respects to Jim Thorpe. That was the best gift that I could say any athlete or any tribal member of being of their tribe, trying to be a role model for their tribe, just like these 2 Native American icons are for their tribe. And that's why I try to be something as far as our tribe, the Losawe people, the Absentee Shawnee tribe of Oklahoma's people. I tried to be a role model. for our younger generation, because you never know who you're going to inspire if they have a disability. Now, disability means anything as far as the classifications, but in our Native American world, our society, most of our disabilities of Native Americans come from diabetes. So that's what um, it really inspired me to become the admin, kind of vice president of Amputees of Oklahoma. I wanted to reach out to other amputees. Amy Osborne, my sister, she became an above knee amputee 2 weeks ago, last week or 2 weeks ago, and she's new at this. So I told her that, hey, if you need anything, you let me know. I'll show you the ropes. I've been an amputee at 43 years at 3 different levels, the longest being above knee, and that's 26 years. Being a part of the admin of Amputees of Oklahoma, I get to decide if this amputee is qualified to be in the Amputee of Oklahoma group or decline. Anybody can be associated, anybody can join, but it's my job to accept or decline that. And I really don't like to decline because of it's a basically we get together one time a month, one time every 3 months. We talk about our disability. We're aware of our disability and what would make you have that awareness of your disability now in today's world. And that's something that I like to share. And I do have a story. I do have a unique story because I never let go. I never became a couch potato. There was something always to do, somebody always to go see in our community, or just even being out and letting kids see what kind of transformer or robot you are, and then the parents get mad. I mean, I have to deal with this, and it's no problem. Like if I go to the mom, there's a little one there, and look, mama, he's robot or he's transformer, and the mom's all telling me, "Shh, be quiet, you don't need to be." Well, I go and introduce myself. I try to explain to the mom, hey, don't be like that. Let him be aware of that disability, because he might become best friends with the amputee later on, or he might have, you never know the circumstance of life. So, and that's when I tried to be a funny guy, comedian at that time. And I was like, well, if you want it, take it home, babysit it, you can have it. And most of the time they're like, we don't want, and it's very nice to see a young one, as far as being as old as I am. And as long as I've been an amputee, the reaction, I love the action of a reaction. And to get that in today's world is just it's just the happiest thing for us, because we might have influenced him to be a speaker one day. We might have influenced him to be something for a disability program, or we don't really know. So get back to this. So I've been playing this game since I was 15 years old as a below knee amputee. When I became an above knee amputee, I started working for golf courses. I worked 22 years at 5 different golf courses. Lincoln Park Golf Course in Oklahoma City underneath Shannon Friday, Brian Sloan, Steve Carson. I worked Cimarron Trails out of Perkins, Oklahoma, underneath Luke Benedict. Shawnee Country Club underneath Larry Taylor, Craig Robertson, Derek Claiborne. I worked Fire Lake Golf Course underneath Jeff Kiefer, Chris Chester, Big Terry, the Citizen Potawatomi Nation, and underneath Rocky Barrett and Linda Capps. They gave me an opportunity to be a part of that. And then I've also done training in Waco, Texas at Bear Ridge Golf Course. I've also done work at Seminole Jimmy Austin's golf course underneath Ronnie Powell. And it was all in maintenance, weed eating, mowing, raking bunkers, rolling greens, cutting greens, mowing rough. And I got asked one time, you lost your leg at 3.5 by a lawnmower and you're out here mowing? Well, yeah, because I couldn't be afraid of that lawnmower. It wasn't the lawnmower's fault. Um, it was just all the combinations' fault at the time that why I became an amputee. But to be out there to make that golf course like a PlayStation game, to the 110% as a mower, as a roller, as a bunker raker. Well, I wanted to do that for 22 years at 5 different golf courses. And then while me playing golf, I became a member of the Southwest Amputee Golf Association. I do participate with the Texas Adapted Golf Association with Bobby Bell and Josh. I cannot say his last name. I just forgive me for that. With the Veterans Golf Association, Randy Norris and Michael Kennedy, I really 110% appreciate being a part of these golf associations. This is where the idea of Not Away came in. Native American Disabled Amputee Wheelchair Association for my own sports academy. Now, I did just stick with golf after everything I've done as far as being an athlete in schools and the Endeavor Games and Extremity Games. I'd stuck with this. I stuck with golf. Because it was just you, God, and nature out there. You didn't have anybody in your ear. If you messed up, it's on your fault. And then if I messed up because of my fault, that leg's going off and I'll play one-legged. I mean, that was the scenario of being a golfer. It wasn't the club's fault. It's the leg's fault. I always blame everything. It's the leg's fault. So being a part of this, I have won quite a few trophies with the Southwest Amputee Association. I've won quite a bit, where I'm one round off to having a world ranking status with Texas Adaptive Golf Association. And I am in the family C flight with the Veterans Golf Association. I'm not a veterans, but my hat goes off to all the veterans that are a part of this 100%. I didn't have an opportunity to become a part of the military world, but at least I'm a part of it now. Because of my grandparents serving, because of my grandparents served in the military, I have the ability to go and be a part of the Veteran Golf Association because of them. And my hat and my heart goes out to them that served in my family. And I thank them very much because it gave me another opportunity to go and participate with them, to hear their stories, to be another role model, to be an inspiration to that veteran that lost his leg, maybe in the war or Iraq, or whatever the circumstance is. They know I'm there 100%. So Randy Norris, Michael Kennedy, my hat goes off to you. Thank you very much. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your service. And thank you for letting me be a part of something that I couldn't be as a younger or just a younger generation. So to me, to put myself out there to be this person, it was because still of my grandpa, Jim Thorpe. I still have to carry on, and even in our culture, I have to carry on powwow way. I have to carry on Native American church way. I do have cousins being brought up, but I've never left. And my grandparents gave me the position to carry on for them. So I carried that on for them. And just like Jack Thorpe gave me the position to carry on for his dad, Jim Thorpe, well, anything that I can do to carry on, that's what I'm going to do. And I'll give it 100%. So golf has became my thing. I would like to thank Mark. I don't know his last name, but Mark, I had an opportunity to go show myself in the Native American and participate in the Native American Open out in Santa Ana, New Mexico. Now, when I was there, there was a journalist there, and he said that they would really like for me to be a part of this book. He's writing. He wanted to go along with me and study. Now, out of the two amputees that was there, luckily I was the young one, and luckily I said, if you want to do a story, that's fine. So this is how this Indian Country Today, it came out in their magazine on Facebook. Disabled native golfer works to bring others to the game. So he had actually took my story from there to present, and this will be the book that it's going to be in, to be that inspiration, to be that role model. Now, in all my disability levels of amputation in all my sports, I've never been recognized and still today, this is the only recognition that I've got. I'm still trying to get into the McLeod Sports Hall of Fame for wrestling, as being the only tribal amputee wrestler to ever put McLeod on Channel 5 News, to be the only amputee in the state of Oklahoma at that time. I've actually sent my stuff into the National Native Hall of Fame because I've never been recognized as a tribal amputee athlete. And that was my goal, is to be recognized. That way I can be the recognition and have that recognition as Bill Mills and Jim Thorpe. So that's why, if anything's got sports related, I'm in. Even if I had to, whatever means it means to me to go and do, I want to participate. I want to become the icon to our tribal people from A to Z. Amputee Shawnee, we're the very first one on the alphabetically list, Amputee Shawnee tribe. So if I can reach out and be like Tecumseh and unite, that's what I'm going to try to do, and that's what I'm here for, to represent God first of all, my family, my tribe, and as well as myself, because without them and without the push that you needed to be the tribal athlete in today's world, it was all because of that. And I really want to give my thanks because of that, because you never know the opportunity, you never know what door is going to open. And so that's pretty much. I also became, before this closes, I also am the only tribal amputee wheelchair. I played with the OKC Wheels of Thunder wheelchair basketball adult team out of Oklahoma City. Tim Etheridge, I can't thank you enough. Mark Ridgely, I can't thank you enough of giving me the opportunity to be a part of that as well. So anything that's got to do with sports, amputee wise, able body wise, wheelchair wise, that's why I called my sports Not a Way. And the reason why is I was always told as a kid, there's not a way, you can't do that, because I was different. And that's what made me think, not a way. Native American Disabled Amputee Wheelchair Association. Now everybody gets to have a chance. Everybody gets to have a shot of being a part of that Not a Way organization or association.
Wow. Thank you very much, Jimmy, for an awesome presentation and telling your story. When I first saw the article in Indian Country about the work that he was doing, I just contacted him and he contacted back, and we've been having this conversation about all the stuff that he's accomplished, and he is a great storyteller. I mean, we've spent like Fridays just talking, and he has more and more stories to tell. And so, you know, when we're trying to put it in with this 45, 50-minute format, you know, but it's a way for us to hear from our relatives nationwide about their experiences, their challenges and successes, and what they see Native
Yes.
Americans with different abilities. And so
Yes.
I want to thank you very much, Jimmy, and we can open it up for questions. And so do anyone have any questions? Okay, we do have one comment. It's from Susie. And so, appreciate your motivation and drive. My niece also had to get the Department of Education permission each year, all through high school, to allow her to participate in basketball after she became a above the knee amputee at 12. Thank you for your time and work around this awareness.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, it becomes a challenge because we become a liability as being an athlete in our schools, which it shouldn't be like that. We should be treated equal. Like I said, I had to go in front of the Chamber of Commerce of my town and tell them why. And I'm very thankful that I did, because look how long I've done sports because of that right there, that moment in time. So yes, I would say tell your niece not to quit, keep going.
Awesome. Great advice. Great advice. So as we get more questions, I'd like to also mention that we do have upcoming future webinars. We have in April, Sports is My Medicine with Noah Hotchkiss, who will talk about Tribal Adaptive, his nonprofit organization. May 20th, we'll talk about neurodivergence to neuroscience with one of our students, Caitlin Haskey, who is Diné Navajo, who will talk about her experience through academia. In June, we'll have a session on genetic counseling with Juliana Williams, who will be graduating this in May with her master's in genetic counseling. She's Tana Atom. And then in July, we'll talk about our pre-employment programs that we have here at the Sonoran Center for Excellence in Disabilities. So let me go see if we have additional questions. Maria says, thank you for sharing your story and for your advocacy work.
Thank you. Thank you for participating. That means a lot.
And then, so Jimmy, what is the next steps for you?
The next steps would be I have at least 30 rounds of golf with the Veterans Golf Association. The Southwest Amputee, they have one in June and September, and then the Texas Adaptive for the world ranking status will be in October. So I'll actually get a world ranking status as a tribal amputee golfer. So that's exciting. The next step is to promote this and get the 501c3 license that I need to promote my NADA way, the Native American Disability Amputee Wheelchair Association. That way we can branch out to any tribe that needs that help as a wheelchair athlete, amputee athlete, or even being the disabled athlete, to get out there and just tell the story. To tell my story from A to Z through all the tribes, get connected with all the tribes, and use my chief Tecumseh's tactics, and that's to unite our people. And that's what I would love to do, is unite our disabled people with our tribal and get more of this stuff going. The Jim Thorpe games only lasted 2 years out of Oklahoma. I would love to see my games go until I'm an elder. From A to Z of the tribal people and nations here in the United States, and to just go out and tell my story to make somebody feel good or have inspiration. I'm putting that leg on, and moving. And that's the whole idea, is put it on and just go one foot in front of the other, because these legs ain't made to go backwards.
Very good advice. So Jimmy, we do have another comment from Emily. She says, thank you so much for this very informative session. It sounds as if you have lots of support. Was there ever a time in which you struggled with working so hard and felt like giving up? If so, what motivated you to keep going?
I would say because of God, family, and the being adopted into the Thorpe family, and getting to meet Bill Mills, I would have to say no. I never stop. I never get up, because there's always, we come from the Eagle Nation. We come from the Eagle race. We have a job to do as Native Americans. And even if it's meaning that prayer, somebody needs prayer, or somebody needs help with their disability, that's how my heart feels, and that's how my mind thinks. Is since we're Native American, we come from that Eagle race, we have a job to do, and that's to reach out to the other natives with disability or not, even if it is a disability, but it's just being out there, it's being spoken, using your voice, and never to give up. And we can give up when we're elders, and then the last stage of your life as an elder, and that's to be made whole one day. So my way of thinking is, I can't give up, I can't stop, because one day my real goal is to, when I leave this earth, is I'm made whole, and I did all this as a one-legged tribal amputee athlete.
Wow. Thank you for those words, Jimmy. And we just have more folks posting thank yous. Emily says, thank you again. Lizzie says, incredible presentation, Mr. Squire. Thank you. Jamie says, thank you for all that you do. And then thank you for your sharing your story and your advocacy. So a lot of thanks from folks for your inspirational story about what you've faced throughout your life, the advocacy that you had for yourself and for your community, for making folks aware of what you're doing and sharing the wonderful game of golf with everybody. So if you need to get a hold of Jimmy, on the screen here is his cell phone number and his Gmail, so you can contact him. And we really appreciate him spending time to share his story, and also providing his contact information, and also, well, from my perspective of spending Fridays just talking to him and hearing of all the wonderful things that he's done, but also being the funny cousin who would just make me laugh, telling all the stories of what has happened to him. So a really down to earth guy.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, so we are going to close. So again, this webinar was supported by the Administrator for Community Living of the Department of Health and Human Services. It's in the chat information. If you have any questions we didn't get to during this meeting, please send it to usaid@arizona.edu. And there's also a survey for you to complete to give us feedback as we continue going forward with providing more webinars, more stories from out in the community of people and talking about their experiences with disabilities and abilities and advocacy. So we welcome you to join in our next one in April with about sports is my medicine, again following the sports theme. So again, thank you very much, and we will end this webinar.
Thank you very much. Nyawe.